Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. How's everyone doing today? So if you hear some background noise, I'm sitting in my chicken coop while we're waiting for everyone else to join us at 3. Let me show you. I just gave them some carrot tops, so they're pretty excited. So we'll meet everyone again here in a few minutes. They're pretty happy. I'll turn it back around to them because they're more interesting than I am anyway. So our duck right there, that's Sideways. He's one of our boys. He lives with the girls because the other boys are a little bit too aggressive with him, and he's got a bad neck. He was born that way. The girls are getting a little angry with one another because they all want the green that someone else has, even though there's plenty. Yeah. Just a few more minutes. So I see we have some people watching. Hi, Margaret and Alex. So if at any time during this you have questions, I will answer them as soon as I'm able to see them, as long as I'm able to answer them. I don't pretend to know everything there is to know about raising chickens. Y'all be nice. Ducks should not eat bread. There are plenty of things that you can give ducks to have that interaction with them that are not bread. You actually should not feed bread to most animals. You can feed them, they really like raspberries. Ours like tomatoes. Leafy greens are good. Pretty much anything leafy they'll eat. You don't want to give them things like citrus and potato peels and stuff like that. So, as the sun comes out, we're going to go ahead and start. It's 3 o'clock. So, for anyone who is interested in starting their own flock, I use it for eggs, but I know some people might want to use it for meat, and we'll get into that. But the first thing you need to do for your own backyard flock is to check your municipality codes and your HOA codes. St. Johns County, as a general rule, allows you to keep chickens. However, if you live in county areas but you're in an HOA, your HOA may not. So I always caution people they need to check that before they go and buy a whole bunch of birds that they might get in trouble for owning. Another consideration would be to consider, do you have the money to invest up front and for the long-term care? Things like coops cost money. You can get good deals, but you're looking at a couple $100 depending on the size that you want for the size of your flock. Birds cost money as well. The rarer the breed, the more expensive they are. If you're into rare breeds. If you just want them for eggs, pretty much any egg layer dual purpose bird will be just fine for you. You also have to consider, are you going to buy them from a place like Tractor Supply or from a feed store? Tractor Supply has limits, minimums that you have to buy. So you have to buy at least 4 from places like Tractor Supply if you buy them in store. Sometimes feed stores, you don't need to do that, but you need to do your research to see what are the minimums you need to require in order to buy them. So if you have all that set up, you're okay to legally own birds, you decided that you got the money to put up, what kind of bird do you want? Like I said, we raise ours for eggs. We are not going to eat any of our girls. If you are going to eat them, that's a different class. I do not go over how to slaughter your own bird. But keep in mind that when you're purchasing birds, anything that has broiler or roaster on it, you do not want them for eggs. They grow up really quick. In about 6 to 8 months, they'll die unless you cull them to eat. So keep that in mind when you're searching for your breeds. If you want them just as a pet, they make a thing called bantam birds, which are mini chickens. So any regular breed you see, you can have a mini chicken. And they do produce eggs, you can't eat them, they're just not very big, and so they're more appropriate for pets only. We also have 3 ducks. We used to have 4. We only had 1 female, but unfortunately we lost her. So we're stuck with 3 boys. We're still not going to eat them. They're now pets, and we have Sideways who lives with our girls, and we have our 2 other more dominant boys who live by themselves because they're a little bit too aggressive with the other ones. It depends on your species of bird on how many eggs you're going to get. If you have something like a leghorn, which is an everyday layer, you're going to get eggs pretty much every day. A dual purpose bird, which is one that you can also use for meat, usually lays about every other day. However, I will say that we have 2 leghorns who are everyday layers. The rest of our girls are not everyday layers, but we pretty consistently get about 8 eggs a day. So keep that in mind. Can you eat all those eggs? Do you have a place to give them? Certain things you should keep. I'm going to start walking over here. Turn this camera around. Our run area is in transition. When we're home during the day, during the weekends, we'll let them out in the front yard. But you do want some sort of coop. We converted a shed. And in here, you can see you need some sort of bedding on top of a solid wood floor. Pine shavings work the best. We have 3 nesting boxes. You want at least 1 box per every 3 birds. They all like to fight over the same box though, so I try to move it around when I see eggs laying on the shelf to where they might lay. I have 2 containers here. One, the big one's for our feed, and the small one is for snacks like bird seed. The corn feed is the basic staple of their diet, but you want to give them other things as well. Let me show you this right here. These are carrot tops that we have. We give them greens, tomatoes, sometimes some raspberries. They do make chicken snacks. I'm not joking, I'll show you. This guy. But you don't have to buy chicken snacks if you don't want to. There's plenty of things that you buy produce-wise that they can eat. For our boy, he needs some sort of water pool. He doesn't need to swim, but he does need to be able to get his feathers wet to keep the waterproof coating on him. And he likes his bath. I just cleaned this out about an hour ago, and you can see how messy ducks are. I love them, but they're messy. You also want to have waterers or drinkers. We have a couple in here. The girls will drink out of Sid's pool. This is their water. They have another water in a shaded area over there on their play area. And you also want feeders. And you try to keep these in the shade as much as possible because they won't eat if it's too hot and they're covered in sun. So we're getting ready to add more shade in this guy, so half of this area is actually shaded for them. So do we have any other questions thus far? So keep in mind, like all animals, chickens can get sick. You want to have enough space for them. You want to have enough activities for them. If you see one that's starting to get sick, you want to separate them immediately. One of the biggest ways to tell if they're sick, honestly, is to check their poop. It should have a little white top. If it's too runny or too solid, or you notice any other issues, you might want to quarantine that chicken so you can figure out what's going on. They can have issues like getting their eggs stuck, and you want to remove that egg, otherwise they could lead to complications. They could actually prolapse the area that they push their eggs through. That's a much bigger issue. You do want to remove that bird immediately, because a prolapsed cloaca area will cause the other birds to actually attack it. You should not feed them citrus or potato peels or things like onions. Anytime we introduce something new, we always double check. We do our reference work to make sure it's good. I'm sure you guys want to see the girls again. Say hi, guys. They do make different sounds. You can hear them. These are happy chicken sounds. Sideways is in his pool. They do make a variety of sounds, and you can tell if they're happy or not. Their little purring noise means they're happy. We have one girl who screams every time you pick her up. She just doesn't like to be held. So I try not to do it unless it's absolutely necessary. Like for some reason she decided she didn't want to go to sleep at night in the coop. We do shut ours in the coop at night for protection. We do have some animals out here, possums, raccoons, stuff like that. If you have an area with foxes, they will go after your livestock. Say hi. If you have an area where they can free run, that's great. If they get out, we have a couple that like to get out. They do know their way back home, so try not to worry too much. Just give them time, and they know their way home. They will come back to the coop at night. We have to keep a lookout on ours because of where we live. Have we got any more questions? So you should expect your birds to eat about 1/4 pound of feed a day. And that's even if you're giving them the other supplements to make sure they have a healthy diet. So feed's not super expensive, but the more birds you have, the quicker you go through it. We go through about 50 pounds of feed every 2 weeks. I'm trying to read these questions down here. I don't see any more right now. I usually do this inside, so y'all are getting a first time view here. You want to make sure your run's big enough for all your birds. I know these guys get cooped up every once in a while, which is why we let them out on the weekends. If they're squatting like this, that means they're mature and they will lay eggs for you. They do it every once in a while. You want to clean out your coop probably about once a week at least, depending on how many birds you have. We just cleaned ours out a couple days ago, and you can already see that they have kicked some stuff out. They're real good at producing, stuff on the other end, and you want to do your best to keep that ammonia down out of the coop. Birds' names. Okay, I'm going to remember everyone here. We got Sideways is our boy. Hattie and Bonnie are the two, let me turn this back around, are these two blonde ones right here. Clara and Sophie are these white girls. And then our black Australorps, we have Astrid, Luna, Trixie, and Helga. And then you can kind of see them back there. Our two boys, that's Cloud Jumper and Fish Meat. I like How to Train Your Dragon, so a lot of my animals get those names. All right, we got any more questions? My girls are kind of hot right now. I'll probably let them out after this so they can go in the shade. They love wooded areas, so if you get them and you notice they keep going to your wooded area on your yard, that's fine, that's normal. They are descendants of Southeastern Asian birds, and they love trees. So if they're pretty small like my white ones, they can actually fly up into trees. I say fly loosely, they're not like regular birds. My other girls are a little too big to get very high. They try sometimes, it doesn't work out too well. But they like to be covered, it makes them feel safer. So the best thing to do with if you have to leave them in a run when you, like say you work and you don't have a safe place to leave them out during the day, make sure it's as covered as possible. You do want them to have daylight. They need at least 8 hours in order to produce eggs for you. But at the same time, you want to make sure they're safe and they feel comfortable. I'm going to wait here for a few more minutes. I know you guys would rather see them than me. They'll eat just about anything, and they know their treats. They'll come. I recommend you training them to do this if you get any. So if they run away and they're too adventurous, they come right back to you. All right, hold on. Alrighty, well if there's no more questions, make sure you be on the lookout for other of our virtual program here for the library. We have 11 o'clock, 1:30, 3 p.m., and we have a bedtime story time at 7:30. We are trying to upload these Facebook videos to YouTube as well, so that if you happen to miss it or you have friends who don't have access to Facebook, they can still enjoy what we're putting on for y'all. So we do miss everyone. We'd rather do these in person, but if I have no more questions, I will see you all later. Wait a few more minutes here. There's a little bit of a lag. All right, guys. Hope everyone has an awesome day.